Now I'm Master rank 23 and I have over 2,000 hours in Warframe. In the past month I have opened my eyes up to a game that I thought I would not like. This video is created to show the similarities of both Destiny and Warframe and also the differences. There's definitely a cross section between both player bases and it's easy to see why. Here's footage of my second ever raid, and when I first got Destiny 2 nearly 2 years ago, I didn't know that the Leviathan raid even existed because I never even scrolled down to see it on Nessus.
YOLO! Mission failed. We'll get 'em next time.
I can res.
I already used my code.
Oh shit, here we go again.
We're here.
Hey, get it?
R2 dead, R2 dead. Almost
I'm down.
dead.
Almost dead. Let's go.
Beautiful! Fucking, oh, cuties! Hell yeah!
Dude, sins of the past? That's
Oh,
I think
okay,
that's my first
I'm done.
sins of the past.
I'm done. Alright, thanks guys.
Get off.
Okay. And 3, 2, 1, and on.
The first comparison that can be made about these two games is how similar the layout of the solar system is and just how important the role of planets ties into progression and how important that's for the players. Warframe has 5 to 10 minute missions on each planet that force you to get through a junction to get to the next planet. Destiny in the past had a lot of access to the spaghetti planets through its long-awaited DLCs and has some preliminary planets that have a complete open-world feel to them in comparison. Players in Destiny and Warframe look forward to the weekly and bi-weekly rare traders that come to sell their wares and give out exciting exotics. Ducats are the currency used to buy these rare wares, earned by cracking relics to get prime parts. Now, legendary shards from dismantling legendary gear is used to earn new exotics. Each week, new Destiny players have a guaranteed, non-red base, open world lootable exotic engram without duplicates. Microtransactions in these literature games is where the main differences come into play. In Destiny, players are offered a limited time selection of a few items within a broader catalog for a capped, grindable, bright dust currency. You can either buy silver, which is a premium currency only tied to real-world money, to acquire these emotes, ghost shells, sparrows, armor sets, and more. It is also mentioned that there's a limited time on the silver items as well, which is the premium items. In Warframe, cosmetics are also made by community members and carefully selected by Digital Extremes employees. Then players can directly purchase one-to-one through Steam with real-world money. In addition, nearly everything in the marketplace is earnable through a premium currency they can obtain through many different missions with no cap on how much you can earn by trading with other players. Nearly every mission will give you progression to start earning more platinum. Included with the daily sortie, a series of 3 missions with different modifiers that scale from level 60 to 100 and end up giving rewards anywhere from 20 to 140 platinum. That's per account. Just to play it, this exchange depends on the player-driven, community-run market based on supply and demand. And everybody's experience is different. My first experience raiding in Destiny was not stellar. I was in a clan. I joined like one of the first clans I saw. They were doing a prestige Leviathan run, and they were meant to, you know, I mentioned to them definitely multiple times that this is my first raid, you know, and that I've never raided before in Destiny, because I didn't even, like I said, I didn't even know that raiding was possible. I didn't even see Leviathan as an option. Anyway, it didn't go so well because, you know, the more experienced players don't really have the same experience as new players. Obviously, you gotta find those new players and these Sherpas to guide you through your beginning raids. With that said, raiding in Destiny is very lengthy, and like I said, everyone's experience is vastly different. There's a huge scene of players that are actively looking for raids, and they form teams to complete these raids. There is an even smaller section of the community who focuses on the act of chirping, which I just mentioned, which boils down to explaining each encounter with depth and information while making sure that the recipient of this is a new player that is learning. New player groups, in my experience, have to be highlighted. People have to know that it's a new player group. You know, certain people don't like to join raids unless they know it's going to be a fast and quick experience, and more experienced players will avoid groups with new players learning, as it can slow down their runs. Sherpas have an incredibly simple but important task to answer questions and teach new players the mechanics of the raids while trying to get it done within a reasonable time, you know. I love this kind of interaction in a video game, and there are very few games out there that do this. Remember, Destiny is a complex first-person shooter with MMO mechanics built into the raids. With limited revives and wipe mechanics, there's a small window for messing up, and in many times messing up and wiping can lead to 20 minute, you know, dry spells where you're repeating things that you just failed on one aspect of it, and then it just completely ends the raid because you failed, you know. A more experienced player can maneuver after having many runs. Once you've done a few runs and you know what to do, and you've done all the roles, you'll be able to react to problems that arise in any group and be able to conquer, you know, the task at hand. Warframe, on the other hand, abandoned its raid community 2 years ago, stating that we are looking to repurpose existing raid content to make the game mode more accessible for lower level players, while also preparing them for this endgame content as it continues to progress. Now, they ended up giving us raid badges for those that completed the raids, and also a promise that they would revisit raids with new ideas, but so far nothing has been announced for almost 2 years, like I said. As much as I absolutely want to see raids, given how joyous of an experience they can be, ultimately it was probably a better fit for the casual player base to be engaged in different endgame content through the Eidolon system, and having a new means of progression through arcanes dropping from these Eidolons, which they didn't do before. Anyways, only bringing these arcanes through a grindable mission, making it able to be grindable, and majority of players are able to comfortably do 3 Tridolons. That is the Terrorless, Hydraless, and Gonchalus 3 times per night cycle, makes arcanes extremely easy to get and farm, which is overall a good thing, but in the context of Warframe, where extreme players are able to do 5 or 6 per night cycle, and these arcanes have different perks in general, and just increase the level of power creep in Warframe. It's a real big issue. Like certain arcanes, if you get them to max rank, just can completely make majority of content very trivial, and you can pretty much heal through so much damage and get instant energy back, and you know, give energy to all your allies. You can do a lot of things with arcanes. They're pretty much modifiers for your warframes, right? Your classes. And the developers pretty much back then called this endgame content. This Eidolon system endgame content 2 years ago, but thousands of players years later are questioning if it can actually be considered that, because within 1 or 2 months players are finishing their focus trees and collecting a ton of arcanes, which the Eidolon hunts drop. I have a ton of respect for both of these games, and so, you know, while they have their similarities, it's good to talk about the differences. Raiding in Destiny feels incredibly good. There's difficulty, there's team-based mechanics that force you to play together and try to work it out so that everybody is getting involved, everybody is learning, or, you know, practicing the raids, because without that they lose the ability to clear the raids. Like, if you're not practicing these things, that ability just eventually will go away. You'll remember the mechanics, but able to execute the mechanics won't be so easy. So this is an example of the Tridolons here, and this is the first one. This is Terrorless. I'm just playing Volt, setting up shields, but this is the version of their endgame content. You know, we have an operator. What you see here is an operator. I'm using a frame, which is Volt, putting up shields to shoot with my prism, my amp, through my operator, which is like a little teenager who's in your frame, you know, controlling you. That's a spoiler anyway. But how our arcanes work, and this is how arcanes drop. It's incredibly simple to do these missions, and the only grindable aspect of it is that you can only do a certain amount of them per night cycle. Like, the challenge never really changes, only how fast you can do the challenge. Though I have to say, you know, it was probably a better idea for them to have these arcanes in lower, you know, make it accessible for all players. That's what their vision was, you know. They were citing that Trials, which were the old version of raids in that Warframe, weren't really accessible to all players and didn't add more loop progression and an end-game grind. Back then maybe that was true, but now, you know, people are down with their focus trees for the most part, and the only reason to really do, you know, complete all this grind, you know, to complete this Eidolon as you see me doing now, to drop these Eidolon shards as you see me collecting now, is to get the focus, which gives like a lot of focus from this. But you only really use these focus trees. There's only one that you out of 5 that you really use in the majority of missions, and you know, you just complete it quickly in Warframe. It's just 1 or 2 months you're done with it. Anyway, let's talk about the major differences between these two. You're seeing in Necros here another frame using melee, and now in Warframe, you know, raids, you know, are outlawed. You know, it's not a thing anymore. But raids in Destiny take a few hours for the average player to complete, and have up to 6 encounters with bosses and puzzle mechanics needed to be solved mixed in between all of this. Whereas Eidolons, you know, you're given a period of 1 hour, and then, you know, you have to wait another hour to get to the next cycle. Now, the Warframe melee system is really, you know, has a lot of combos and breaks up the gameplay, allows players to choose from a lot of weapons, as you saw, and there's a melee slot for this purpose, and you can just get by with just doing melee weapons. Now, what you're seeing here is rollable mods which give you different stats. You're seeing the relic system as I mentioned before, but re-rollable stats in Warframe are definitely a big thing, and you don't see that in Destiny. You see weapons dropping through the perk system, and also, you know, Warframe has different chats for your region, recruiting for missions, and trading, which Destiny kind of lacks. But there's a lot of differences. There's a ton. You can name a ton. But this video is over, and I thank you for watching. But this is gonna be the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Now the last thing I'm gonna say here is that if you like Warframe, if you like Destiny, there's a good chance that you'll like the other one. Give it a chance. You know, play through the War Within quest on Warframe, and on Destiny, you know, get to 950, get to 960, and start earning all these exotics that you can earn that really change up the gameplay, and try to collect them all. You might like